What if reality is fluid? Meaning it molds itself in response to our state of being that we are operating in. What does this mean? Our state of being that we are operating in. When I first heard this idea, I was like, stop, hold the presses. What is this? This makes so much sense. So let me explain. As we know, there are only two states of being. When we're in a power state or when we're in a survival mode state. Those two states of being. Basically, we can only be in one of those at a time. We cannot be in both. We're either operating in a powerful state or on a survival mode state. What does this mean? When we're in a survival mode, we're using the sympathetic state of the nervous system. That means we are in fight or flight mode. We are in responsive, reactive mode. We're not in control. We are perhaps in fear, in anxiety, in worry. We're hustling, we're busy. We are not present. We're not clear. There's much noise in our minds, in our head, and we can't really. We're in survival mode. We're just hustling and going and doing and non-stop. But when we take a breath, we pause. We become present. We can shift into what is called power mode, which means we start using the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, which allows us to find the space and clarity to help us see new perspectives, perceive different things, become a third-party observer, detach ourselves from whatever might be going on so we can see the big picture, basically. When we are in survival mode, we really can't see what's going on. We can only see what's right in front of us, and we can perceive different things. When we are in a power mode, we are operating from certainty and clarity. We have the space to perceive and to get insights and use our imagination. That is when we are operating in a power mode. So imagine what you can create when you're in a power mode versus what life brings you when you are in a survival mode. Two very different things. So this brings us to the state of consciousness in Hawkins emotional scale. Dr. David Hawkins created what is called the emotional guidance scale. This chart that tells you the human emotions in 17 different categories, and it matches the frequency, the energetic frequency of each one of those emotions and the associated emotional state with each one of those, and the view of life that we tend to have when we encounter ourselves in each one of those emotions. Now, what is interesting, those emotions range from the highest, which is enlightenment, to the lowest, which is shame. Shame, guilt, apathy. Those are some of the lower vibrational emotions that we can experience, right? Fear, those are fear-based. And when we raise ourselves up into the higher emotions, we get to what's called courage, which is about in the middle. We begin to take responsibility for our lives. And so we begin the upward scale into the power state of emotions, right? As we go on our day-to-day, it's helpful to notice, it's helpful to know what state are we operating in, and become a third-party observer. Take a step back and just observe. Don't criticize. Don't criticize. Just pay attention and notice. Notice what state of emotion are you operating in, and if you can shift yourself up. And as you begin to shift yourself up, you begin to perceive more options in life. You gain a new perspective. Perhaps, instead of, that doesn't mean that we are not to experience human emotions. Human emotions are to be experienced, but there is a big difference between noticing that we're feeling angry versus holding on to the anger and working it and holding on to it, and 2 days later we're still like, our stomach hurts because we're still so mad. That brings us nowhere, and we continue to operate in a survival mode that life is going to bring everything that matches that frequency if we stay there. So the interesting exercise would be to notice, okay, why did I react like that? What was that trigger that brought in me that anger when that situation when I encountered that situation? And then become the third party observer. That part of ourselves that is always there is very quiet, but it's always there in the background, but it's always accessible to us. So by becoming still, by becoming present in our body, connecting with our breath, then we can begin to listen to that part that is a third party observer and gain insights from that. And then we can discern and say, okay, so I guess I was triggered because, I was tired, frustrated, and things didn't go my way, and that's okay. It's okay. And then let it go, and then work yourself up to the emotion, to the higher emotions, so that you are in a power state, so that we consciously become aware and intentionally work towards being in a powerful state of being, so that we can begin to notice the possibilities. It's like climbing a mountain, or it's kind of like a cone. And so the lower the emotions, the more narrow the view is. But the higher the emotions, the more expansive the view and the perception. And life will begin. It always does, but sometimes we can't see it. It molds itself in response to our state of being. If you like this video, I invite you to subscribe and follow me, and I will bring up more topics. Leave in the comments, let me know what you thought, and if this video resonated with you. Until the next one. Thank you so much.